guys, welcome back to our channel. It's been a long time since we've had a video start like this.
Like what?
Like, hey guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Keanna.
I'm Dustin.
And we've been married for at least 3 months now.
Has it been?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it's right. Yeah. Closing in on 4.
3.5. Yeah, so we thought no better time than already 3 months later.
It's a random time.
To finally share our wedding story with you guys. Like, we told you about our wedding day. I shouldn't call this the wedding story. We should call this the wedding drama.
Wedding drama. Yeah. It's very dramatic.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So we no better time than now to share the drama leading up to our wedding. All right, so where do we begin?
Well, I don't know. I guess my passport situation.
Yeah, so I think you guys know leading up, we had done a couple lives.
Yeah.
Where he expressed how much he procrastinated.
That's not even true. We did not even book our. Originally, we planned on going to Hawaii. You don't need a passport for Hawaii, do we? No, we don't. And then the same week, we decided, no, we can't do this because they don't have all-inclusive, so let's go to blah, blah, blah. At that point in time, we booked it. The next day, I started looking, but I didn't need one until we decided to go out of the country.
I say procrastinating because as an adult,
oh my gosh,
I think it's just responsible to have a passport.
That's not even...
It is.
No, there's no, like, responsible.
Yeah. It's like
a lot of people
having
have never
license.
been out of the country. So
you never know.
Oh my God.
Let us know in the comments. Do you think
Not
that...
responsible. That term, come on.
To be prepared.
In case somebody gives me a trip out of the country.
Yeah, like when we got offered that television show and we needed to go to Ireland, but you didn't have a passport. Anyway, you let us know your opinions in the comments.
Yeah, please do.
Anyway, so
I was calling like every day throughout June because they said, basically, they told me not to apply, which I think I should have still done. And they said, wait and call until like, what did they say? Like, I don't know. They gave me a certain date. It was like June 17th. They said at that point in time you can call and they'll make an appointment for 2 weeks out from your departure date. And so I called every single day. And like you couldn't even get through. They said they get like over 700,000 calls a day. So you couldn't even get through. And I was waking up every morning in my summer in June just to call for a passport and to get an appointment. And every time they're like, oh, our closest appointment available is in New Orleans. And so, yeah. Atlanta never had any appointments. Then they told me to try to reach out to somebody, like some political whatever, for our district. And if they could arrange it for us, and it'd be like, oh, they'll be like a last second, this or that. And they seemed really nice, but again, it was like, oh, well, it'll be like 3 days before you leave. And we're like, okay, well, that's not comforting. So anyway, long story short, I had to make an appointment all the way in New Orleans. Meanwhile, we were planning for Keanna's, like she's presenting at a conference in Florida, in Orlando, and we went down to present at a conference.
It was a really big conference. There was over 4,000 educators. And while I was there, someone that I had been spending a lot of time with, like, said that her husband was sick with COVID, but that they were testing negative. And so I was a little apprehensive. And I told her, like, girl, I'm getting married next week, so you cannot get me sick. And then at the end of the conference, she sent us all a message saying that she tested positive for COVID. And literally as we were going home that day, like from Orlando, I was feeling like not great. And then we both got home from Orlando and like passed out on the couch. And I woke up to that message and I was like, I have COVID. Like I have to. I just wasn't feeling good. I started to feel like, you know, like your glands start to swell and things like that. I didn't feel like how Dustin looked or felt when he had COVID.
What you trying to say about how I looked?
Baby, you looked translucent. I didn't feel like that kind of sick, but I had a headache, and I had a really bad headache when I got the vaccination. So something just told me I had COVID, but I tested negative. So the next day I scheduled the...
That was on a Thursday, I think.
That was a Thursday. Yeah. So, and this is the Thursday before we got married, literally. Yeah. 1 week before we got married on the Thursday. So then the next day I scheduled a PRC test. Yeah. And you have to wait 24 hours for those results. But I took that test in the morning, and then it was like afternoon time, and I was just getting impatient because more and more people started saying that they were sick, and we had all been around that same person. And so around like maybe 1 or 2.
And I was gone.
Oh, yeah, because as soon as we got home, so we took that nap. Part. Rewind, let's go back.
Rewind. So we get back that Thursday, we pass out. I don't pass out for very long, so I'm like, I gotta go get my stuff together. Like, we got back from Orlando, got an Uber back to our house, and then I basically had to leave to go to New Orleans because my appointment was like 10 o'clock the next morning or 8 o'clock the next morning, something early. Mm-hmm. And so I had to get a hotel room and then basically leave that night on Thursday night to go down. I got done there like 1 a.m. and yeah, stayed the night there, had my appointment at 8 a.m. the next morning, and then had to wait till like 1. Meanwhile, she's back in Atlanta not feeling well, so I'm stressing out because I'm like trying to get this passport, and then she's stressing out because she's like, I think I might have COVID, and we get married in a week
for the first time ever.
And I'm like, hopefully this passport, because they said, oh, we're going to close the office early. I'm like, I drove all the way down here. They're not about to close this office early. Like, I need this passport today because we leave in like a week and a half. So, yeah. I'm down in New Orleans, and she's dealing with her stuff back in Atlanta.
Yeah, at home, freaking out. Yeah, so, but luckily, you literally went there and came back. So, yeah, but literally, as all of this is happening, he's either traveling, getting his passport, or whatever. So I went and got the PRC, and then I took another test in the afternoon, at-home test, and it was positive. It looked barely positive, but I saw the line, and I knew then that I had COVID, and it was a spiral from there.
It was a major spiral. I was driving back, and it was like, because I drove down there Thursday night, got there like 1 a.m., and I was back by like 10 p.m. or earlier on Friday night. Like, I literally got my passport in hand and drove straight back. And I don't even remember how long of a drive it is. It's not close.
Yeah, it's like 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah, it was like 7-hour drives. It's like I drove 14-hour round trip in 24 hours after getting back from Orlando. And I get back and I'm exhausted, but then I'm like stressing out because I know she's not feeling well. And she's like more than not feeling well. I think it was just like the idea of like, oh crap, like, yeah, I can't be around people, and we're getting married. We have a reception. We have my mom. We have your parents.
And then he was not testing positive, so that made me even more nervous because like I knew that I'd be able to travel for our honeymoon. Like my quarantine would be up, but if he were to catch it down the line from me, then that would have affected our honeymoon, and he had already done all of this travel for his passport, but we could potentially not even go because he would have just gotten
completely
sick.
Spaced like all of this stuff.
Yeah, so we had to stay separate because if he wasn't sick, I had to make sure it stayed that way because we literally like got married. 2 days later was the honeymoon, and then 2 days or 3 days after that, we left for we got married. 2 days later was the reception, and then 2 or 3 days after that was the honeymoon. So like if he were to get sick, he would have I would have been on the tail end pretty much over, but he would have been full blown missing everything. And like I just couldn't allow him to get sick, but also there was things that I needed, like my bouquet was
all the things. Literally, basically we had like this long checklist before we got back to Atlanta of like all the things like we need to knock out. This, and like a mile long. And like the next week, and make sure we're all set. And then she couldn't do any of that because she had COVID. So that to-do list that was ours became mine. And then, she's being responsible. She's staying at home because she was feeling better within a day or so.
I really didn't get very sick at all.
No, it was more just a paranoia of like, okay, maybe I feel better, but I could still pass it to somebody else. So trying to be responsible, she stayed home. But then, that to-do list that was to be shared was all mine the week leading up to it. And that was definitely stressful. We're trying to figure out all the things. Mm-hmm. What else was it?
So Saturday, once I tested positive at home on Friday, even though my PRC results hadn't come back, I already knew like I need to go to urgent care. I had been told by like people that had COVID, like, or even the person that got it, like all you have to do is go to the doctor and they'll give you like a shot or a pill or something, and it like I felt so much better after it. Again, like I knew I wasn't really that sick, but I knew that I was getting married. So I like urgent care opened at 8. I was already there at 8. But I got a phone call at like 7:30 before I went to urgent care, and they said, "Hey, just so you know, I'm really sorry to tell you, but you tested positive yesterday." And I was like, "Girl, I already know. Like I'm on to the next thing. Like I need the steroid. I need the whatever." And she told me like, I understand that you're really stressed about your wedding, but I wouldn't suggest that you take that medication. It's really for people that are like having health issues or older, and you don't have any severe side effects or severe symptoms. Yeah. So like I wouldn't suggest it. And I was like, that's great, but I'm gonna go to the doctor and I'm gonna go get this whatever I need. So I go, and he pretty much told me, I will not give this to you. You barely have any symptoms. You are not overweight. You do not have any health issues. You're not old enough. Like, I'm not doing it. And I said, like, almost on the verge of tears, like, I'm getting married in less than a week. I need this. I need COVID to be gone by Monday so I can do all the things I need to do. Like, my nails, my hair, like, all those things that were not done yet because it's my wedding time. Like, you get that done right before you get married. So he said no. And so I'm, like, freaking out. Like, I don't know what to do. So my mom sets up like us to get a home nurse. Oh, yeah. And we got IVs. So we got an IV drip because supposedly COVID is really just your body. Like a big way to get rid of COVID is to like boost your vitamins, of course, but add lots of fluid and hydration to stay hydrated. So we got IVs. Again, I wasn't feeling too sick. Yeah.
It was more like, for me too, just like being proactive, I guess.
Yeah. And just to try to flush it all out. But yeah, so what did you even have to do?
I really can't even remember. But in the midst of that too, like then we're stressing out about like, okay, not just like your mom, but my parents are coming all the way down from Indiana. Like, do we need to tell them like don't come, or do we need to like, I had to make sure that they were still comfortable with it and figure out the window. Like, is it going to be reasonable or safe for everybody involved? But yeah, I don't know. You know all the wedding things. Like there's a list of all the things to knock out.
Yeah.
But yeah, when your bouquet didn't come in time, then I had like one of my students' parents. I was like, we can try her. So we sent her a picture of what it was, and she's like trying to like find a way to get something together for us, and she did. But yeah, I went and met her and picked that up because we didn't get what she had ordered in.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a process.
It was a lot. You had a lot of like going back and forth with your suit. You had to try those on or try that on a lot and make sure you got that in time. And then for me, I just had to be that person that like double mask, but I had to go get my nails done. So
you waited. I mean, it was toward the tail.
Yeah, it was like right before we went before our wedding.
7 or so days after your first symptoms.
Yeah,
or whatever.
And I was honestly symptom free, but it was
like 5 days.
So that's the thing. So the state called me, like the state of Georgia called me after day 5 or something, because this was when like COVID regulations had, or like what is it called? COVID restrictions had just changed, and they were saying that like you only need to quarantine for 5 days. If you don't have a fever and blah blah blah, you can move on, but you need to like wear a mask. And so I never had a fever the entire time, and I was pretty much symptom free. So by day 5, I had done the IV, I was taking my zinc, I was like feeling back to myself. So I take a test on day 6.
Ooh, then spiraled again.
It was still positive. So I felt normal, but my test was like, and this time it wasn't like after 3 minutes barely lying. It was bold first 10 seconds, like you are still positive. And
Right.
I was crying so bad because I felt better and I knew I had things to do. So the state called me and was like, you're probably, you're probably fine. You're definitely fine to go out. Like, you don't have to quarantine anymore because we only ask you to quarantine for 5 days. But if you do leave, you need to wear a mask, which I already was planning to do anyway. But I was more concerned with the mask wearing the day 10 would have been the day after our ceremony. So the day we got married, July 7th, that was day 9 for me. And so I was like, oh my God, like I had already canceled my makeup. I wasn't going to have someone in my face. And I knew I could wear a mask to get my nails done. So of course that's what I did. But me and Dustin were not sleeping in the same bed. We were not sitting on the same couch.
We had not hugged each other or been in the same room really together for a full week, over a week before we got married.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had barely had any even contact with each other.
Yeah. So I'm literally asking the state lady, who I guess my case manager. I didn't even know you get a case manager when you get COVID. Because she was like, yeah, you should wear your mask until at least day 10. And I'm like, but I'm getting married. And she said, you know what? COVID is everywhere. So it's your wedding. You do what you need to do. And I was like, but I can't get my husband sick. And she's like, you're probably not contagious. We just say that as a precaution. And so even the day we got married, the whole ride to Asheville, I wore my N95 mask, everywhere. Anytime I was around,
hold my hand.
Anytime we were together, I wore my mask, and literally until we kissed, or until right at the wedding,
Yeah, you did. Yeah, the night before.
Yeah. So for 4 hours in the car, I have this mask on because I don't want him to get sick, and we're in this confined car together. But yeah, so I was wearing my N95 mask everywhere, but really I still wasn't going anywhere. I only went to get my nails done. I still didn't feel comfortable going places. And then even after we got married, I was still wearing my mask.
Yeah, it was stressful.
It was stressful.
It was very stressful. But you definitely spiraled again. Those couple, when you test, I'm like, you're going to test positive again. I tested positive for a month after I had COVID, so... And they said that's common. People test positive, you could be completely gone. So you're gonna test. I was like, there's no point you taking it because you're just gonna stress out again when it's positive again.
I thought for sure I was not going to be positive,
Yeah.
And I only felt comfortable on our wedding day kissing him if I was gonna be negative. So that's why. And then after, yes, everybody's like, no, you're gonna test positive for so long. But I did not want him to get sick. If he got sick, that would have messed up everything after, and it would have been my fault. So
yeah. I'm a terrible person.
Ugh, it was so... I cried. You guys don't know. I literally, the week before your wedding, I think other people have stress, but we purposely didn't do a big ceremony. So
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to have wedding stress like that, but I cried every single day.
And then I couldn't do anything because I couldn't hug her or anything else. I'm just sitting there and feel like a horrible person because she's bawling her eyes out and I'm not supposed to go near her.
People were calling
fun.
me and telling me it's fine, it's not that big a deal, everyone's getting COVID, and this is my first time having COVID, but 2, I did not want to be the reason other people got sick. That was my main thing. That's why I've always been wearing my mask before, and so I didn't want to be the reason other people got sick, and I didn't want to have to call off my wedding because I would potentially get other people sick. So I cried and everybody's like, it's fine. That made me cry more because I'm like, you just don't understand. It's not fine. It's not as simple as you think it is. Yeah, I'm so grateful that I was not sick, but now it's a matter of potentially getting others sick. And
she cried the COVID away. She cried it away.
I cried
all washed out.
I cried a lot, y'all. And then, our wedding day came, and it was none of that ever happened.
Yeah. Did we tell them about what happened on the wedding day, too, though? Just with...
We still didn't have the bouquet?
Yeah, that, but also, that it was supposed to rain.
Oh, yeah.
The whole I don't know if we said in another video, but if we didn't, the whole time, then she's stressing out about that too because we're like, oh, but it's like another wedding. Like we know that we assumed that risk. Like,
Oh, you mean for the reception?
no, I'm talking about the night they were supposed to get married too. Both days were supposed to
Yeah, but
rain.
the reception was worse.
Yeah, the reception was worse, but it was supposed to rain the night that we got married too. And then all of a sudden, like the percentages changed the day of. And but when we were driving out to the location, it looked like it was gonna rain still.
It was a huge cloud.
Yeah, so
But that worked out.
it did. Both worked out.
But our reception, it literally rained
It's
all
like
morning.
98% chance from like sun up to sundown.
Yeah, it literally said till like 10 p.m. it was going to rain. And then it was like around 3 or 4 and the rain cleared and the sun came out. It was like
Yeah.
the sunniest
It
day.
was so
or
bizarre.
sunniest afternoon.
Because she always like, it could say like 20% chance. See, it's gonna rain. It's gonna. I was like, it's not 20% chance. It's not that much. And then it was like 98% chance.
it was actually raining.
It was
We
like-
woke up and it was raining.
like torrential downpour.
it was noon. It was still raining.
Yeah, it was bad. It was not like a sprinkle.
So we got married in the backyard, so I thought the grass was going to be soggy, ruin all of our... I mean, there was a lot of grass tracked in the house in
Yeah,
my
I felt
dress.
bad about that.
But it could have been so much worse, and I'm grateful that it wasn't.
Yeah.
So it all worked out, but it was drama, and it was stress, and...
It most definitely was a lot of both of those things.
I was crying. Yeah, I just... It was a week of tears. I also just knew that I was going to work out every single day before we got married and went on our honeymoon, and I couldn't because I had freaking COVID, so couldn't even get my like last minute in shape or anything. Yeah, that's our wedding drama. That's our pre-wedding story.
That's it. It's a lot of fun.
And I just got my booster, so that COVID thing better
Does it
not
hurt?
happen again. Don't hit it. But we don't have any super important events like getting married coming up anytime soon, but Lord willing,
Right.
COVID will not get in the way of that.
Man, go away.
COVID literally comes at the most inopportune times. Like,
Right, it's probably
you,
gonna come around
when you got
Christmas
to-
again.
When you got to go home for the first
Right.
time, me, our wedding, like, why can't it happen, like, when it's testing season at school and I don't want to have to give the
Right.
test? Like,
Oh, darn, I have to miss the state test.
yeah,
Shucks.
like, what? Or the whole month of June when I was kind of sitting at home for the
Right.
most part.
Yeah.
Awful. Awful. But yeah, just do your part. If you're sick, protect the people around you. I did my part, and that'll help all of us. So nobody has to stress over major events because of COVID.
Yeah, it sucked.
All right, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next Saturday.
Bye.
Oh, next Saturday's Halloween.
Ooh.
That'll be fun.
And spooky time. Spooky video. Spooky time. All right, bye.
We'll see. Bye.
Bye.